It was shortly after 9 a.m. on the 27th of October, 2025, when Buckingham Palace released an official communique that sent ripples of respect and subtle symbolism throughout royal circles. His Majesty the King is pleased to confer upon Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence the rank of Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order, GCVO, in recognition of decades of personal service to the sovereign and the royal household. And 41. With that single announcement, a man who has spent over 3 decades quietly supporting the British monarchy from the shadows was finally brought into the light. The honor among the most personal that a British monarch can bestow was not simply a reward for service. It was a message. It said, "Silent loyalty matters. Quiet strength counts. And in times of thunderous ego, those who serve without spectacle are the true anchors of the crown." Sir Timothy Lawrence, 69, is not a name that often graces headlines, and that, perhaps, is precisely why this honor matters so deeply. A former Royal Navy officer and one-time equerry to Queen Elizabeth II, Timothy has spent more than 30 years as the constant, understated companion to Princess Anne, the Princess Royal. His marriage to Anne in 1992 came at a time when the royal family was reeling from tabloid scandals, public divorces, and a crumbling relationship with the press. Yet through it all, Timothy never gave an interview, never courted cameras, never issued a statement. Instead, he walked 2 paces behind his wife, always present, always discreet. Whether in Malta or Zambia, at agricultural shows in Devon or state funerals in London, he was there not for himself, but for the institution and the woman he loved. For over 3 decades, Sir Timothy has stood a respectful step behind his wife, the Princess Royal, at state events, investitures, funerals, and overseas tours. Rarely quoted, never controversial, his demeanor has always been defined by composure, loyalty, and discipline. And yet, for all his years of service, he had never held a formal royal title of high distinction. Until now. In a year where the monarchy has endured its share of uncertainty, Princess Catherine undergoing cancer treatment, King Charles scaling back public engagements, and questions swirling around the legacy of Queen Camilla, this gesture of recognition towards Sir Timothy is being interpreted as part of a larger recalibration. A strategic reaffirmation of old values, one courtier commented. Indeed, Sir Timothy is now among a rare class of men who have received the Knight Grand Cross for personal service to the sovereign. Prince Philip, Lord Mountbatten, and Sir Michael Oswald, to name a few. The distinction is as much about the message it sends internally within the royal fold as it is about public honors. And the message is clear. Modesty, steadfastness, and inner resolve are virtues the king wishes to preserve. That's where Princess Anne and her household become pivotal. The Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order, GCVO, is no mere medal. Established by Queen Victoria in 1896, the order is reserved for those who have rendered personal service to the monarch or the royal family, an honor entirely at the king's discretion, untouched by political influence. The GCVO is the highest grade within this order, typically bestowed upon individuals whose commitment to duty transcends visibility or rank. Thus, when King Charles III quietly elevated Sir Timothy to this elite circle whose members include Queen Camilla, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, the gesture was both symbolic and deeply personal. Sources close to Buckingham Palace describe the honor as the king's message of gratitude, delivered in silence. According to an aide from the Royal Victorian Secretariat, the investiture took place in private at Clarence House, a week before the announcement, attended only by a handful of senior aides and the Princess Royal herself. There were no photographers, no fanfare, just a quiet acknowledgement between 2 men, bound by decades of shared duty. Observers within royal circles see this as part of King Charles's deliberate strategy to realign recognition within the monarchy, rewarding not glamour or visibility, but endurance, integrity, and loyalty, qualities embodied by Sir Timothy and Princess Anne. The Princess Royal, now 75, has long been considered the engine of the monarchy. She completes hundreds of engagements yearly, tirelessly, representing the crown both domestically and abroad. Together with her husband, she has upheld the late Queen Elizabeth II's vision of quiet service, one that values devotion over spectacle. As one former equerry put it, Sir Timothy is the mirror of Anne's resolve. He is never in the picture's center, but he's always part of the frame that holds the family steady. Within the Windsor hierarchy, the family of Princess Anne has often been underestimated. Her children, Peter Phillips and Zara Tyndall, both lead independent lives outside the framework of royal funding, a deliberate choice by Anne to spare them the burden of official titles. It's a philosophy of modern modesty, a quiet nobility that contrasts sharply with the ostentation sometimes seen elsewhere in royal ranks. And yet, it is precisely this unpretentious sense of duty that the king seems eager to honor. According to palace insiders, Charles's decision to elevate his brother-in-law was as much about Princess Anne as it was about Sir Timothy. The king is said to have described the couple as the spine of continuity. Within the royal family, too, individuals who embody the traditional virtues upon which the monarchy still rests. The gesture also carries familial weight. In recent months, amid the king's ongoing health treatments and the reduced public schedule of Princess Catherine, the monarchy has leaned heavily on Anne's reliability and the steady presence of her husband. Their combined efforts have filled ceremonial gaps and maintained the rhythm of royal engagements across the United Kingdom. This new title, therefore, serves not just as a medal pinned to a lapel, but as a public affirmation of the indispensable role the Princess Royal and her husband play in holding the monarchy together. Royal watchers were quick to notice what this moment was not. It was not bestowed upon a celebrity royal, nor upon one of the younger heirs. It was not accompanied by glossy photographs or speeches. And most strikingly, it did not involve Queen Camilla. While Camilla herself holds a GCVO title granted upon her marriage to Charles, she was reportedly not involved in discussions about this latest honor. Her absence, symbolic or coincidental, has fueled speculation among royal commentators that the king is quietly drawing lines between those who serve the institution and those who serve image. As historian Dr. Leonard Bryce of St. Andrews observed in an interview with The Times, the royal household has always operated through coded gestures. This elevation was one such signal, Charles reaffirming that the heart of monarchy lies not in showmanship, but in constancy. It was, in many ways, a quiet rebuke to the noise that has surrounded other branches of the family. Indeed, at a time when Camilla's public appearances have drawn criticism for perceived extravagance, and when her son, Tom Parker Bowles, has been at the center of renewed scrutiny over privilege without duty, the king's decision to honor a man like Sir Timothy seems to speak volumes. Behind the shimmering silver star and blue sash of the Royal Victorian Order lies something more profound, an ideology. King Charles, often described as a man of reflection and moral symbolism, appears to be crafting a legacy rooted in humility and service, distancing his reign from the public drama that shadowed the monarchy in the past decade. In that vision, Sir Timothy Lawrence and Princess Anne stand as exemplars of what the royal institution can still represent: discipline without dominance, faith without fanaticism, and power without pride. As the king left Windsor Castle the day after the announcement, a source close to the palace was overheard saying, almost in passing, "This wasn't about titles, it was about trust." And in the quiet corridors of Buckingham Palace, that sentiment may well define the direction of the Windsor dynasty's next chapter. The setting was anything but grand. No gilded ballroom, no trumpets echoing through St. George's Hall. Instead, the investiture of Sir Timothy Lawrence took place in the quiet confines of Clarence House, King Charles's personal London residence. It was there on the early morning of the 15th of October 2025 that the monarch, recovering from treatment and opting for privacy, called a select group of aides and his sister, Princess Anne, into the room. The ceremony lasted just 15 minutes. There were no photographers present, no video crew, no press release drafted in advance. The Royal Victorian Order, after all, is not an honor given on government advice or subject to Parliament. It is the sovereign's personal gift, used sparingly and meaningfully. In this case, the meaning could not be clearer. Loyalty is louder in silence. According to insiders, Charles spoke plainly. "Your quiet dedication," he is said to have told Sir Timothy, "has steadied us all." He then personally placed the Knight Grand Cross, GCVO, sash and badge across Sir Timothy's shoulder, with Princess Anne looking on, her expression, according to a palace aide, a rare moment of visible emotion. This was not simply a royal obligation, but a statement of deep personal gratitude. Sir Timothy, after all, had served the monarchy not only as the Princess Royal's husband, but as a former equerry to the late Queen Elizabeth II, whose trust he earned during his naval service and continued to maintain long after her passing. In contrast to the lavish, performative ceremonies associated with the royal calendar gala banquets, balcony appearances, state parades, this moment was stripped down to the essentials: a monarch, a knight, a shared history of duty, and a nod to the past that made such a future possible. As one former senior courtier commented anonymously, this was Charles at his most strategic. It wasn't about spectacle, it was about stability. The Royal Victorian Order, RVO, remains one of the most misunderstood yet potent honors in the royal arsenal. Unlike knighthoods such as the Order of the British Empire, OBE, or the Companion of Honor, which are awarded through government nominations, the RVO is wholly sovereign-driven. It is given to individuals who have offered exceptional personal service to the monarchy itself, often quietly, sometimes invisibly. Gardeners, nannies, palace secretaries, and even members of the clergy have received it for decades of quiet excellence. But the Knight Grand Cross, GCVO, is the highest possible grade, and among living recipients, only a few can claim that level of personal trust. That list includes the Queen Consort, Princess Alexandra, and a handful of royal household chiefs who have served across generations. By inducting Sir Timothy Lawrence into this rare circle, the king was effectively placing him among the inner sanctum of loyalists, a man who has been there, always, even when the spotlight wasn't. The response from within the royal household was near unanimous. A source close to Prince William reportedly described the move as entirely right and long overdue. The Prince of Wales, who has taken on more public-facing duties in recent months due to Catherine's recovery period, has leaned on Princess Anne's support in multiple joint engagements. Their bond, once merely familial, has become operational. Meanwhile, Princess Catherine is said to have sent a personal letter of congratulations to Sir Timothy. Though absent from public life as she continues her recovery, the Princess of Wales remains engaged in royal decision-making behind the scenes, and has long been an admirer of the Anne model of royal service duty first, no drama. Even the House of York, often portrayed as outliers, shared public support. A rare joint statement from Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie praised Sir Timothy's dedicated service and quiet strength. The gesture was interpreted as a subtle but significant signal of unity in a family too often split by scandal and tension. The Duke of Kent, one of the few remaining active royals of his generation, reportedly remarked privately that Sir Timothy's investiture was the most appropriate thing His Majesty has done this year. But perhaps the most telling detail was not what was said inside Clarence House, but what was left unsaid elsewhere. Queen Camilla was not present at the investiture. While her absence was officially described as logistical, sources suggest she was neither consulted nor directly involved. Some interpreted this as a deliberate distancing, a way of signaling that this moment was not hers to share, nor hers to influence. In recent months, Camilla has faced renewed criticism for her attempts to reframe her role within the monarchy, not just as consort, but as a symbol of continuity, a title long associated with Princess Anne. The king, known for his symbolic decisions, may have been drawing a line. There is room for visibility, but reverence belongs to the loyal. Observers also note that Charles recently rejected a proposal to elevate Camilla's son, Tom Parker Bowles, with a ceremonial honor. The rejection was quiet, but telling. Tom is not part of the firm, one insider said flatly. Sir Timothy is. Sir Timothy's honor, while officially recent, has been building for years. His role in the background of royal affairs, especially during the turbulence of the 1990 seconds, the death of Princess Diana, and the subsequent repair of royal image has been instrumental. He never gave an interview, never courted press, never stumbled under scrutiny. In a world where visibility often masquerades as value, Sir Timothy offered something rarer: stillness in service. In an era where monarchies are constantly questioned for their relevance, it is figures like him and the royal values they silently uphold that restore faith in the institution. This was more than a knighthood. It was the king's way of saying, this is the kind of man we must not forget. In the shifting sands of the House of Windsor, much of the public's gaze is often drawn toward the drama, the grandeur of state banquets, the glamour of royal tours, or the occasional scandal that rocks the front pages. But beneath the glitter and headlines lies a subtler, steadier force. Individuals who sustain the institution not by dominating the spotlight but by anchoring it from the shadows. Sir Timothy Lawrence is one such figure. And in honoring him with the Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order, King Charles III wasn't merely issuing a commendation. He was pointing to a blueprint, a roadmap, a signal of the values he wants to define the next phase of the British monarchy. With Princess Catherine temporarily withdrawn from public duties due to her ongoing cancer recovery, and Prince William absorbing an overwhelming load of state representation, Princess Anne, the king's only sister, has quietly become the monarchy's most consistent presence. From military parades to agricultural fairs, her schedule is unrelenting, her dedication unwavering. And Sir Timothy is always there, never speaking, never stepping ahead of his wife, but always walking beside her, as both shield and witness. Their marriage, formed in the quiet aftermath of scandal and public judgment, has endured not only because of personal compatibility, but because it was built around shared service. Timothy's humility has always allowed Anne's role to shine, Yet in doing so, his own form of loyalty became foundational. Insiders say that the decision to bestow this honor now, rather than at an earlier milestone, was intentional. With Charles consolidating royal roles and streamlining the family's public image, gestures like these are more than symbolic. They're instructive. This was a message, one former royal press officer noted. In a time when visibility is mistaken for value, Charles wanted to remind everyone what real service looks like and who it comes from. It was also a subtle rebuke, a contrast to the self-promotion and public overreach that have defined certain modern royal narratives. Without naming names, it's impossible to ignore the shadow cast by Queen Camilla, whose son, Tom Parker Bowles, was recently denied any ceremonial role or peerage. Camilla's insistence on elevating her personal legacy, from rebranding herself as queen rather than queen consort, to lobbying for her family's inclusion in royal circles, has agitated traditionalists and alarmed institutionalists within the palace. In this context, Sir Timothy's recognition becomes even more poignant. His decades of service were not demanded nor broadcast. They were simply given, and now, finally, recognized. As one palace source succinctly put it, the king isn't just honoring Timothy, he's honoring what Anne represents. The Princess Royal remains the embodiment of what royal service was meant to be: duty without drama, presence without provocation. In pairing her legacy with Timothy's quiet strength, the monarchy may be laying down its most persuasive argument for relevance yet: consistency and character over chaos and celebrity. The celebration of Sir Timothy Lawrence might have been draped in royal velvet and gilded formality, but beneath the polished surface, a different kind of drama has been simmering, one that the palace has worked diligently to conceal. For not everyone is applauding this recent knighthood. Behind closed doors at Clarence House, Queen Camilla is said to be visibly unsettled. This is not just about a medal. It's about power, symbolism, and the unmistakable hierarchy of favor now being carved into the granite of this new Windsor era. Those familiar with the inner workings of the royal household describe the announcement of Sir Timothy's Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order as a deeply strategic move by King Charles III, a deliberate contrast to the soft elevation Camilla has sought for her own family. Notably, Tom Parker Bowles, her son from her first marriage, was once quietly positioned for a peerage or ceremonial appointment. That prospect has since been abandoned. Why? Because it would have shattered what remains of the monarchy's fragile credibility. Timothy earned his honor in silence, a palace aide remarked bluntly. Tom expected his from privilege. It's no secret that Camilla has long tried to weave her children into the fabric of royal respectability. Tom has been seated at state banquets, introduced to foreign dignitaries, and allowed access to events previously reserved for blood royals. But the resistance, both internal and public, has grown louder, especially as Princess Anne's family and the Kents and Yorks maintain a posture of earned, not inherited, inclusion. The contrast is glaring. While Sir Timothy supported Princess Anne through thousands of engagements, often walking 2 paces behind with naval poise and discretion, Tom's public presence has felt performative, like a man trying on a crown that doesn't fit. According to multiple insiders, tensions between Camilla and Anne have become more pronounced. Their paths rarely cross in public unless required. Behind the scenes, their approaches could not be more different. Anne is revered for her frugality, efficiency, and unyielding adherence to duty. Camilla, by contrast, is known to favor luxury, surround herself with personal stylists, and push for a rebranding of the monarchy that would soften its traditional lines and elevate her visibility. Camilla wants to modernize the monarchy, one courtier confided, but it's a version of modernity that conveniently benefits her and her family. The problem? That vision is incompatible with the values. King Charles now seems determined to enshrine values embodied by Sir Timothy, Princess Anne, and increasingly, Prince William and Catherine. In recent months, William has grown closer to his Aunt Anne, leaning on her for counsel and coordination during Catherine's recovery. Their shared commitment to stability and low-drama leadership has not gone unnoticed. During the investiture ceremony at St. James's Palace, notable members of the extended royal family were present not just in form, but in sentiment. Prince Edward and Sophie, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, reportedly applauded the honor with warmth. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, though less visible lately, were said to have sent personal notes praising Sir Timothy's quiet strength. Even the Duke of Kent, a veteran of many monarchic transitions, reportedly described the knighthood as a timely and just moment. These responses mattered, especially to King Charles, who has grown increasingly concerned with legacy over popularity. While his own reign may not stretch decades, the imprint he leaves must define the post-Elizabethan monarchy. Honoring Timothy was not just familial sentiment, it was political foresight. Still, Camilla played her part. At the investiture ceremony, she smiled graciously. She applauded at the right moments. She even posed for a carefully cropped group photo, one that omitted Tom Parker Bowles, noticeably absent from the day's proceedings. But those close to the Queen have revealed a growing irritation behind palace doors. She allegedly questioned why the ceremony had been scheduled so soon after the Pope's funeral, a moment when media attention was still high. She even queried the timing of the palace press release, which coincided with her own lesser event at a children's charity in Hampshire, effectively burying her headlines beneath the knighthood news. It wasn't just about optics, it was about control. And Camilla no longer feels in control. She feels sidelined, said a senior figure close to the royal press office. And in some ways, she is. Yet if this chapter reveals anything, it is that the crown no longer rewards noise. It rewards integrity, service, and staying power. Sir Timothy's knighthood is being framed not as a crescendo of pomp, but as an example of how quiet, enduring loyalty will outlast ambition. A new precedent is being set, one that sends a clear message to courtiers, press, and public alike. Those who serve, not scheme, will inherit the crown's favor. If the Windsor dynasty is in search of a new blueprint for strength, stability, and unshakable duty, it need not look further than the quiet rhythms of Princess Anne's household. The recent knighthood of Sir Timothy Lawrence is not merely a personal reward. It is a resounding endorsement of the ethos that Anne and her family have long represented, often away from the glittering spotlight. For decades, Princess Anne has marched to her own tempo, less interested in media coverage, more focused on doing the job. She's consistently been one of the hardest-working royals, clocking in more engagements than any other member of the family, year after year. But what has gone relatively unnoticed is how her household, including Sir Timothy and their children, has become a model of quiet monarchy. This knighthood, bestowed by King Charles III, subtly shifts the lens of royal favor back onto the doers, rather than the performers. And Anne's family, often overshadowed by louder headlines, now finds itself in a position of renewed respect. Throughout their marriage, Sir Timothy Lawrence has never tried to steal the stage. He never claimed a princely title. He never sought a separate platform. Instead, he walked with Anne literally and figuratively through state visits, investitures, and countless local engagements across the UK and the Commonwealth. In many ways, the Lawrence-Anne union has echoed the golden days of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II, a partnership rooted in loyalty, discretion, and a shared mission. Where some royal spouses have struggled under the pressures of hierarchy and public scrutiny, Sir Timothy embraced invisibility, offering stability in place of sparkle. And now, as the monarchy teeters between tradition and evolution, that very approach has become invaluable. Princess Anne's children, Peter Phillips and Zara Tyndall, hold no royal titles, a deliberate decision made by Anne to allow them freedom from formal obligations. Yet, despite the absence of HRH designations, both have consistently demonstrated deep affection and loyalty to the crown. Peter, known for his dignified presence and diplomatic instincts, has been entrusted with coordinating several key royal events, including the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Zara, meanwhile, has long been one of the most well-regarded royals by the public, her down-to-earth charm and Olympic equestrian career only further elevating her image as royalty without entitlement. It's not lost on many observers that while others chase influence and optics, the Anne branch has quietly built a reputation of grace under pressure, and with this, a form of moral authority. By knighting Sir Timothy, King Charles has sent a message not just to courtiers, but to the British public. This is the kind of loyalty we reward now. The contrast with Queen Camilla's personal ambitions has never been more apparent. While Camilla has championed a more modern, inclusive royal image, one that, not coincidentally, includes greater public roles for her own children, the palace has drawn a clear line. No matter how frequent the appearances or how curated the press coverage, titles and honors must be earned. Tom Parker Bowles, for all his proximity to power, has contributed little to the institution itself. And as Camilla's quiet lobbying for his elevation continues to fall flat, the knighthood of Sir Timothy reads almost like a subtle rebuke. Service matters, bloodlines alone do not. What's perhaps most telling is how many branches of the royal family have rallied around the Anne-Timothy model. Prince William and Catherine, now more than ever regarded as the future of the monarchy, have forged a natural alliance with Anne in recent months. With Catherine stepping back due to health, Anne's steady presence has filled in the void with authority and calm. Other members, like the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, and even the Duke of Kent, have expressed admiration for Anne's consistency and Sir Timothy's quiet contribution. In a family so often fragmented by ego, scandal, and competing visions of the future, this unifying moment feels rare and perhaps even redemptive. In an institution defined by ceremony, lineage, and public scrutiny, the most powerful messages are not always broadcast in grand speeches or platinum jubilees. Sometimes, they are whispered in honors bestowed quietly, in gestures made behind palace walls, in names added to royal orders. The knighthood of Sir Timothy Lawrence is one such message. Not just a medal, but a memo. Not just a title, but a tectonic shift in tone. A new standard for a tired monarchy. After years of turbulence from Megxit and Prince Andrew's scandals to King Charles's illness and Catherine's ongoing health recovery, the British royal family finds itself reeling, recalibrating. Who do the people trust? Who still embodies the crown, when the crown itself seems so fragile? The answer, increasingly, isn't the loudest voice. It's the most consistent presence. And in Sir Timothy, the monarchy has found a symbol of what it now needs most: steadfast loyalty, proven service, and an ego left at the door. This is not a man who angled for camera time, who wrote memoirs, or who paraded opinions. He stood behind Princess Anne and beside Queen Elizabeth, and now, in his recognition, stands as an example of quiet royal masculinity, a blueprint for how modern consorts might support rather than overshadow. Meanwhile, as one man is lifted into the light, another narrative refuses to dim that of Queen Camilla, and the question marks that still surround her influence. While Charles has remained diplomatically supportive of his wife, palace insiders have long whispered of her growing frustration at the clear ceiling placed upon her own family's advancement. Her son, Tom Parker Bowles, a food critic with little to no royal service, remains a private citizen, and rightly so. But Camilla's failed efforts to secure him a title or royal engagement have not gone unnoticed. Within this context, Sir Timothy's honor almost gleams with contrast. While Camilla lobbied, Anne's husband simply served. While one family sought recognition, the other embodied it. The optics are not subtle, and they weren't meant to be. Some even speculate that this knighthood is Charles's way of rebalancing the scales, a tacit reminder that the monarchy isn't about favoritism or marital alliances, but about national service. And the silence from Camilla's end? Deafening. Her team issued no congratulatory statement. Her schedule, usually packed with well-dressed charity appearances, was suddenly private that week. Was it mere coincidence or quiet resentment? The Anne dynasty, no titles, but total respect. The true masterstroke of this honor, however, lies in its long-term implications. Princess Anne's household, long treated as the monarchy's most modest, now sits at the heart of a symbolic realignment. With Prince Harry estranged, Andrew disgraced, and even Charles's reign potentially shortened by illness, the stabilizing forces of the monarchy rest with the new generation and with those who never faltered. Sir Timothy's knighthood draws a line in the sand. It says, "This is what we reward now. Not social media metrics, not tabloid visibility, not family connections, but unwavering, unglamorous dedication." In doing so, the royal family extends an olive branch not to rebels or rogues, but to duty-bound quietists like Anne, like Timothy, like their children who never asked for titles but still carried the name with honor. William, Catherine, and the signal of trust. In recent months, Prince William and Princess Catherine have reportedly grown even closer to Anne and Timothy, citing them as models of stability and discretion. It's no coincidence that during Catherine's health retreat, Princess Anne stepped into several ceremonial roles without fanfare, and with Sir Timothy at her side, quietly coordinating security and logistics. William's public congratulations on Sir Timothy's knighthood posted to the official Kensington account spoke volumes. A well-deserved honor for a life of unshakable service, it read. The choice of words was deliberate. Unshakable, service, deserved. No theatrics, just clarity. And that clarity matters. As the royal spotlight grows more intense, as cameras scrutinize every balcony wave and every absence from duty, the public is looking less at who shines and more at who stands firm when no one is watching. The investiture ceremony was private, as Sir Timothy requested. But one image emerged. King Charles, pale but smiling, placing a hand gently on Timothy's shoulder as he fastened the crimson sash of the Royal Victorian Order across his chest. No press conference, no televised speech, just one sovereign silent, thanks to the man who stood watch in Buckingham's corridors for decades, never asking to be seen. It is in this image, soft, understated, timeless, that we glimpse the monarchy's truest foundation. Not gossip, not grandeur, but the loyalty of one man, standing beside a princess, behind a queen, and now, shoulder to shoulder with a king. As Britain looks to an uncertain royal future shaped by illness, generational change, and public skepticism, it may find its greatest inspiration, not in heirs or headlines, but in a naval officer named Timothy, who showed us all what it means to serve without asking to be thanked.